Discussion and possible action to authorize the mayor to execute a purchase agreement and authorization of expenditure of open space developer fee funds. Denise, is this controversial?
I sure hope not. There's no better way, Mayor, members of council, to end the calendar year and this season of giving with this last item on the council agenda tonight. Indeed, there has been an extensive laundry list of accomplishments by this council, from paying off debt to extensive street maintenance projects to critical investments to help better position the community's tax base. However, this item, the acquisition of open space, is a legacy, an investment in the community that trumps all other accomplishments. Obviously, some citizens might say, you know, I'd rather see my street paved rather than acquire open space. Why are we looking at open space at this point in time in today's economic conditions? Well, this funding, this source of funding, has been earmarked for many years, up to 10 years. It was related to development fees, and we collected development fees for residential development. That included fees that were earmarked to street improvements, municipal facilities, public safety, the emergency service and fire program, and ultimately open space. This year, the laws, the state laws as it relates to the development fees changed, and it further restricted the use of these development fees and when you can spend them. So we evaluated them, and it made more sense, a community our size that's looking mainly at infill development, that it doesn't make sense to collect those development fees any longer. So we sunset our development fees. So we're in the process of extinguishing the balances within those respective funds. The last remaining fund is our open space fund. We have approximately $287,000 within that fund. Once again, these fees are earmarked, so they can only be spent in the case of the development fee for open space to be used as open space in perpetuity. We can't use it for the gardens, we can't use it for the streets. It has to be used for open space in perpetuity. That was the way it was structured when it was originally collected. So the next question is, well, how do you arrive at selecting a parcel? Well, who better than the Desert Foothills Land Trust? They're well known in the Desert Foothills area. They've been very successful in preserving sensitive lands throughout this area. A great organization. And so I sat down with the leadership of the Desert Foothills Land Trust, and I said, we have this pot of money. We can only use it to acquire open space. Let's evaluate some criteria and identify some parcels. So some of the criteria, and this is not rocket science, cultural resources. There's actually several archaeological artifacts throughout town, and so we identified where those were located. Environmental resources. Obviously, we have significant rock outcroppings and some steep slopes and significant ridge lines and some beautiful washes, and we evaluated where those were relative to the town of Carefree. And then we also looked at meaningful open space. What do I mean by meaningful open space? Obviously, an acre of land doesn't mean much to people, but when you look at 30 acres, 40 acres, large tracts of land, so you make meaningful connections and the possibility to expand that in the future, that's meaningful open space. That will identify and preserve, that will leave that lasting legacy. So we looked at and evaluated the properties throughout Carefree that were undeveloped and what met those minimum criteria. What evolved is the northern reaches of Carefree along the unincorporated areas in the county. There were several parcels up there, large parcels of land. Some of these parcels have long been a priority of the Desert Foothills Land Trust because of their natural and cultural resources. So the target property that came to the surface was 30 acres north of the Grapevine Wash and east of 80th Street in the foothills of Continental Mountain. And actually, those are some petroglyphs on a nearby parcel that the property owner in this case is looking at donating as part of this transaction to the Desert Foothills Land Trust. This vicinity map shows the respective property, 30-acre property. This is the Grapevine Wash, just to the south, and this is the 80th Street alignment, just north of Grapevine Road. This is Ranchito Way. This is all what's called meets and bounds, unsubdivided property. To the east, further to the east, this red line signifies the boundary of Carefree. So this is unincorporated land to the north, the town of Cave Creek to the west, and to the east is Carefree Ranch, which is actually in the city of Scottsdale and Desert Mountain. So we're right in the middle of these areas. As you can see by this topo map, there's a significant ridgeline that cuts right through the heart of this property. This is a 30-acre property that we have identified, and the 10-acre property that I just referenced that has some significant archaeological artifacts on that property that the property owner is looking at donating in association with this purchase by the town of Carefree. This is an aerial, I think a 2010 aerial of this area. You can see the ridge line, the top of the ridge line as it cuts through the property here. The property slopes off down into the Grapevine Wash several hundred feet. Just some beautiful vistas up there, beautiful stands of saguaro, some petroglyphs that are sprinkled throughout the property, and just some gorgeous vistas, both of Continental Mountain to the north and down into the Carefree Basin. This is picture on the bottom is actually a picture on an adjacent piece of land just south of the land that we're acquiring. We didn't take too many pictures up there when we were up there a couple months ago, but you can see the entire Carefree Cave Creek Basin looking to the southwest towards Black Mountain here. So this gorgeous vistas and turn around 180 degrees and once again gorgeous vistas to Continental Mountain. The purchase price that we agreed with the property owner in terms of the deal are $280,000 for 30 acres. The broker that's representing us is going to credit back his commission of $11,200. So the ultimate cost is $263,800 for approximately $8,800 per acre. I can tell you there's a adjoining piece of property, approximately 100 acres, during the height of the market is going well over $100,000 per acre. We're getting a great deal. If you want to look at some recent comps, you might have read an article in a local paper this past week prior to Thanksgiving. The city of Scottsdale acquired 6,400 acres of state land at $88 million. Do the math, that's anywhere between $13,000 and $14,000 an acre. We're getting a very good deal here on top of an additional 40 acres, assuming an additional 10 acres, making a total of 40 acres donated to the Desert Foothills Land Trust. The purchase agreement would have to be executed by January 10th. We will be sharing half the cost of the land survey that has been done at a cost of $1,250 to the town. We will also have to pay, as typical to any land transaction, the closing costs and any legal fees. All those fees will be paid through our open space development fee fund. The close of escrow would be on or before January 18th, so we're looking at a pretty quick timeline here, about 35 days. And the title will be in the form of a general warranty to ensure that we're properly covered. The action tonight before the council is to authorize the mayor to execute that purchase agreement and then authorize the expenditure of the open space development fee funds to cover the purchase and the associated closing costs. Once again, those are earmarked funds that we're going to spend for these purposes. In the future, there'll be a couple of work items that staff will work on. One is a intergovernmental agreement with the Desert Foothills Land Trust to name them as stewards of the Carefree Preserve, if you will, for lack of a better term. Also, we can look at surveying the residents of Carefree on their desire for access into this preserve and possibly even evaluate options to expand this preserve. There's once again additional opportunities in the future to acquire through dedication or some other means of additional lands that adjoin this property. And then develop a management plan based upon that system. This wouldn't be possible without the leadership of the Desert Foothills Land Trust. I have to give credit to Sonia, the executive director who is present tonight, as well as Vicki, the conservation director. They were critical in working with the town and working through this process with us and locating it in our successful negotiation, as well as Mark Hazelton, who has once again credited back the broker's commission. And then the Davis Family Trust, which is based out of California, that owns this land, and their generous donation of that additional 10 acres. So, once again, this is a legacy project, and I'm just beaming with pride about bringing this in front of you, and it's something that future generations in Carefree are going to be able to enjoy, and it's something that it's a building block we can actually expand in the future too. So, really exciting times at Carefree, and if there's anything that you can point to on your volunteer service to Carefree, man, this is number one.
I'd like to recognize the work that Gary Neese put into this and the staff. Fundamentally, this was the staff working with the Desert Foothills Land Trust. My compliments go to the staff, and particularly Mr. Neese for his work and effort in making this happen. Sonia, would you like to come up and introduce yourself, and you may get some questions from you.
I am Sonia Perillo. I'm the Executive Director of Desert Foothills Land Trust, and I am really happy to be with you tonight. Seldom do conversations open with, we have this pot of money. I want to thank all of you, and especially Gary and your staff. This has been a great project to work on. We had sort of some direction in terms of what conservation priorities we had in mind, and when we sat down with the town, it was pretty clear that we were going to be able to do something really significant for the town. So as you said, this is a true legacy project and something that Carefree can really celebrate. And we've been thrilled to be involved. We are really happy. We have records going back to pre-2000, actually, most of the 20-year history of our organization. This has been a priority project for us. And the Desert Foothills chapter of the Arizona Archaeological Society, they have worked with us a great deal on kind of identifying priorities as well. Their records go back to the 80s in documenting this area. So it's a great success for the community and something that it really is to be celebrated. So we view a project like this as sort of an anchor, and so we would intend to reach out to other property owners. Everything that we do is voluntary, so we would be talking to other property owners about conservation options if they were interested in being able to expand on this area.
Donate, purchase?
Yeah, conservation easements are a tool we often use where they retain ownership but give up some or all of the development rights. We do occasionally buy property. People sometimes donate property to us, as in this case. So any number of tools in the toolbox we can use. There are even some government agency programs that landowners might be interested in that wouldn't directly involve the land trust, but we can help put them in touch with people that can provide additional tools.
You probably know about it, the Spur Cross. I think back in 2000, this town donated $100,000 to Cave Creek to buy Spur Cross conservation. A lot of people don't know that, so I want to get it out tonight.